Coming up, the Knights show some steel in wet and wild conditions. Ben Hunt bends it like Beckham, and the Barmy Army prepares for a World Cup warm-up. Yes, hello, and welcome to the Sideline Chat podcast, a one-stop shop for rugby league. Along with Mark Henry, I'm Con Marcells, and today we've got your first part to this Week 24 episode, your NRL Round 15 and State of Origin Game 2 debrief. But before we jump into all that juicy Origin action and some salty Queensland tears, let us look back at the NRL action to see what happened in Clubland this week, or last week.
And it kicked off with the Rabbitohs absolutely annihilating the Broncos. So Wayne Bennett gets back one up over his club, with the Rabbitohs winning 46 points to nil in Brisbane.
You sort of saw it coming from the first try, didn't you?
Pretty much.
I mean,
we all knew it was going to happen.
But that was actually very clever to what Cody Walker was doing, because we know the Souths like to really attack down their left-hand edge. So the Broncos, in their minds, they're probably thinking, all right, Walker's coming at us. So he's either got Gagai and Johnston to the outside. We'll try and jam him up, try and isolate those two outer defenders. Nope. Flick pass, back on the inside, catches them off guard. Latrell Mitchell slides in.
Yes,
that was clever. A bit of variation to sort of their standard left side play.
Yes, they were spicing it up a bit because obviously Broncos sort of watched replays or bits and pieces of how the Rabbitohs have attacked throughout the year, but they just came up with something else, completely different and unexpected, and it proved to work very well.
And it was just overwhelming after that point.
Yeah.
Despite the heroics of Xavier Coates to deny Dane Gagai for one try.
How was that?
That was probably the only good thing you could say about the Broncos that night, was Xavier Coates' individual effort to save a try.
I literally thought Gagai was going to score that try, but somehow Xavier Coates saved it.
Come from nowhere.
Would you say try saved a year so far?
It'd be a contender. I would say it is a contender.
Yeah, I agree. But Gagai had a brilliant game. And so did Alex Johnston and Mitchell and Walker and pretty much all the
I would definitely say Cody Walker. 154 running meters, 3 try assists, including that stunner for Latrell Mitchell, 3 offloads, and 1 goal line dropout.
Yeah, he had a blinder of a game, and he's building on nicely, and so is the whole club. Yes, they have been defeated 50 points twice, but they're building on nicely.
I mean, they're holding steady. That's what you could say about South at the moment, because you got your Penrith Panthers, your Melbourne Storm. They're like the benchmark for setting the pace that the game and the league is going at. The Rabbitohs, they're in that same boat as the Eels and the Roosters at the moment. They're like, I wouldn't say B team, but based on the class you see from Penrith and Melbourne, can they really even compete?
Well, it's in that midway point of the season and getting, we're 10 rounds out from the end of the season, believe it or not. It could still be thereabouts. You just had to. They're waiting to pick up the pieces when and if Penrith and Storm collapse.
Well, how many times do you hear those words that you say the Storm might collapse?
Not very rare. Not very often. So
reality is Melbourne. I don't think Melbourne will ever collapse.
They won't, but that's why I said if.
I mean, we've all said the same thing about the Storm. We will touch more on them a little bit later on, but they're just another thing entirely.
Yeah. Penrith and Melbourne are in their own league at the moment. But
and that is not where the Broncos are at. I mean...
No.
What can Kevy do? I don't think he can save this.
Well...
And then he has the arrogance to say, oh yeah, I can win a premiership in 3 years. Mate, have you seen your on-field performances? Have you assessed your back office, your front office? Have you assessed what the hell is going on?
Well, it has cost 2 people their jobs. And then they're bringing former NRL 360 host Ben Eichen in, so...
Yeah, to replace their recruitment manager.
Will it make a difference? I don't know.
Well, what can the Broncos do?
I don't know. They're officially last on the ladder again, which is good news for the Bulldogs fans. And it will stay like that for the rest of the season. Like, as in, the Broncos will stay last for the rest of the season.
I mean, and you've got Matt Lodge and Tavita Pangai Jr. They're both being talked about moving on.
It could be like mid-season as well, especially with Pangai
Jr. But here's the problem. Where do they go? Who's willing to take them? And who's going to replace them? Because
They've got no one.
If you look at the market at the moment, there's no decent like-for-like replacement you're going to get for them.
Well, no.
There just isn't. This is the same problem some of the other clubs are going to have because of bad management in the past or current bad mismanagement.
Well, that's why I was very surprised when Adam Reynolds signed for the Broncos.
That's just lucky.
That was a surprise.
That was lucky.
But with the rate the Broncos have been playing all year, I'm surprised that Reynolds said go. Well, he literally played against his future
employers. That's exactly what's happened. And he's carved them up on both occasions.
But
in some meetings this year.
But in the match on the weekend, he's shown what he can do and may give Brisbane fans some hope and bring Suncorp Stadium back to a fortress.
It's going to be long.
Maybe.
It's going to be painful.
But you can't rely on one player that makes Suncorp a fortress. You have to have the roster around you.
You can't. You absolutely can't.
That's why I brought Ben Eichen in to try and help recruit players and build that roster.
The moment, it's not... Everyone's still going to be thinking, it's just like, we need the Broncos to win. We just, for the sake of the game in Queensland and the league entirely, we need the Broncos to win.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen in 3 years.
No.
Kevin Walters should not be making promises he knows he can't keep. He just can't.
I wouldn't be surprised if Broncos get a new coach next year.
Well,
I'm saying it right.
Wayne Bennett. It would probably have to be Wayne Bennett.
Will it happen before it goes to the new Brisbane club?
I know he's been courted by Brisbane Team 2 and NRL Club 17, but if the Broncos need success, they need someone who knows the joint inside out. But whether or not he will go back because of all the bridges that has been burnt.
Well, it's like when Bennett coached at Newcastle. He went to Newcastle trying to help rebuild the club and didn't do...
Only one finals appearance in 3 years.
And he didn't win a premiership with them. And when he came back to the Brisbane Broncos, he didn't win the grand final with them either.
But he got them to the grand final.
True. But if he goes there for a third time, what's going to happen?
Who knows?
If he goes back to the Brisbane Broncos, it'll be similar to like how he went to the Knights to try and rebuild it and kind of did nothing. It could be a different story because, as you said, he knows the club inside out, but things have changed since he was last there.
Personnel would be a big thing, and we've really gone on sort of like an anti-Broncos rant about Kevin Walters. That's what you get. All right.
But what else are you supposed to talk about when they're playing like shit at the moment and being held scoreless? What else are you supposed to talk about him? There has to be something. Yeah. But that's our little Brisbane talk this week.
Now, moving on to a little bit further north, the Cowboys narrowly going down to the Cronulla Sharks 26-24, but it didn't look like that in the first half.
No, it looked like it was going to be...
a Sharks walkover.
Well, yes, but somehow the Cowboys came back and almost won.
Sean Johnson that was just pinpoint for that opening try, wasn't it?
Very much so. And Connor Tracy, he's been in great form at the moment. And Johnson is going to show what he's capable of. He's hit form at the right time to try and get a new club for next season.
Well, I mean, with the for sale sign up, you'd want to be in good form at the moment.
Well, that's exactly what's happened with him. The Cowboys did, however, have a shot at a 2-point field goal, but missed. So they could have sent it to Golden Point, but couldn't.
Back-to-back tries from Carl Feld inside 2 minutes. That really turned the game on its edge.
That's really when the game could have gone either way. And hence why the Cowboys went to go for a 2-point field goal to try and level the scores. But
it didn't happen. And the Sharks...
It probably didn't happen because they had one less man as Robson got put to the bin.
Could you say that was a big call? I know the rule is contact to the head, you're going to the sin bin. But could Reece Robson really avoid that?
No.
And it's going to get touched on sooner because we've really been banging on about the Broncos. But that, I think many people would argue, that cost the Cowboys a shot at a win.
Yeah. I believe
that big call at a late stage of the game. Scores are almost tied. They might be behind by 2.
Yeah.
And they go down a man with about 2 minutes to go.
Yeah. So when Kyle Feldt got his first... Kyle Feldt scored back-to-back tries in quick succession, that really turned the game on its head. But what turned on the game on its head even more is when Robson went to the bin, which really turned it.
Big call.
Big call, and that's what turned the game on its head. And ultimately favoured the Sharks massively.
And it was the Sharks' left edge defence that let the Cowboys back in. I mean, sure, Chambers and Mulatalo, they scored down the Cowboys' right edge, which of course is the weakest link, but then weren't able to back it up in defence when Carl Felt somehow, within the space of 2 minutes, bags a quick-fire double.
Yeah. It's a bit of that side of the field for both teams in that match was kind of a bit the same. Like there was like you said, the weaker side when Felt scored a double, and then vice versa when Chambers and Mulatalo scored. So it was kind of a bit of a 50-50 each for that side of the park. But overall, it was a cracking game, I have to admit.
Yeah, definitely high entertainment right there.
And it shows that the Sharks can still make the 8, possibly.
Well, they were inside the 8.
Yeah. And you got part of that backlog there, where you got the Cowboys are part of that backlog. The Sharks are in that backlog. Well, I know they're in the 8, but still part of that log jam.
In the final race.
Anything can happen.
And with a month and a half still to go, anything can still happen.
Anything can still happen. Sharks to go from inside top 8 to outside top 8 in a matter of a week or 2. We just had to wait and see.
Now, the biggest game of the week, the Penrith Panthers and the Sydney Roosters. That ended 38 points to 12 in Penrith's favour. But it didn't start that way, did it?
No, it looked like the Roosters were going to really live up to Penrith's you could say Penrith's expectations.
I mean, they were down a man by not having Sam Walker there. And of course, this was off the back of Boyd Cordner's immediate retirement.
Yes. So there was a few late changes with Suwali going into the centres.
And Manu shifting in the 5'8".
I think the second time this season.
I think that is the case. But the Roosters had the Penrith number early.
They did.
I mean, there was no way you could say, if at 12-0 up, you'd be mistaken for thinking that the Roosters were actually going to run up a score against Penrith. Because, I mean, left edge, Josh Morris, Angus Crichton, they looked likely down that side if it wasn't for desperate defence.
Yeah.
And then, when Penrith got the ball...
That was it.
That was it. That's all you can say. The moment Penrith got some decent field position, Nathan Cleary, and the man had a bloodshot eye, and this is still what he managed to do. 1 try, 2 try assists, 165 running metres, 2 tackle breaks, 4 goal line dropouts, as well as 7 from 8 goals converted. With a bloodshot eye, and the fact that, like with the Reece Robson sin binning, Siosiua Taukeiaho might have got a bit unlucky as well.
Yes.
And Trent Robinson certainly wasn't happy about that.
Well, why? I can see why, though. But Penrith was back to full strength. So obviously you knew they were going to be back to their best. But
the way they went about it in that fashion, the Roosters didn't even touch the ball.
Yeah.
They were just getting starved. I mean, if this is what they can do to a side like the Roosters, what does that say about Penrith as a whole? And the same thing with the Melbourne Storm.
Yeah. It's just saying that Penrith and Melbourne are in their own league. And everyone's playing catch-up.
If there was a Champions League, Penrith and Melbourne would be the first 2 teams inside that Champions League, right there.
Oh, no doubt about that. It's written on the wall right there.
But don't think I've ever seen a performance after 2016 that featured the Roosters, where they've actually maybe round 20, but not as bad as that in 2020. But you just don't see the Roosters get outgunned, outmuscled, and hardly any ball to say that that's their own.
Well, not very often, no. There was another match earlier this year when the Broncos played the Roosters at the Sydney Cricket Ground. They kind of didn't get enough ball, and Brisbane had more ball, which was a bit surprising considering where Broncos are compared to Roosters. But this was like kind of top four clash. So I was expecting it to be a lot closer than what it was, but
yeah, and I think everyone was heavily disappointed. But I think all the Penrith fans and all the Roosters haters would have absolutely been delighted.
Well, I said that game was going to be match of the round. That did not happen. That wasn't match of the round overall. Some other game was. Few games, actually. Now,
wet and wild conditions down at Newcastle, and somehow the Knights come away 10 points to 6 winners.
Wet and wild game and a wild victory, I can tell you that right now. out of nowhere, well, not nowhere, it was like Warriors were just in front by 2 at a break. And then 75th minute, Brodie Jones crashed over and won the game for the Knights.
I mean, we talk about blowouts. Like, they have been happening on a regular basis since the head high crackdown.
Yeah.
More on top of the 6 again, and rule being introduced. But I think for many fans, this would have actually been refreshing to have like a real nail biter going on here.
Yeah, where they can throw up anything. You just have to look at it in the past.
And you would have thought the Warriors, because I mean, you and Aiken streaked away early, pouncing on some loose ball.
Yeah.
And then Reece Walsh tried to replicate the same thing, but the difference was Walsh actually got ran down.
Yeah.
Could you even imagine him getting run down?
No. He's young, he's got speed on him, but to get run down, you don't hear that often.
It's like saying Pappenhausen gets run down. No
Or
one runs down Pappenhausen or the Fox.
Or even Tom Trbojevic.
Oh, you couldn't run him down if you tried to save your life. Not if you're that bloke on the Northern Beaches that what a bet.
Yeah. We need to see the foot race, 100-meter sprint of who's the fastest with all the fastest players at the NRL.
That would be... you would want to pay ringside for that.
Yeah, it would be good to see, but I don't think we will see it. But anyway, somehow the Knights won. And what you could say, for the crowd, for a Knights game...
Just a bit under 10,000.
Well, 9,975.
Which is a bit under 10,000.
Yes. But for a Knights crowd at a home game was shit. Usually it's nearly 25,000.
Hey.
But
keep in mind,
wet.
the weather would have kept most of the fans away.
Yeah, so I was just going to say the weather played a
more
big part
so
of that.
than the poor form that the Knights had been suffering on and off. But they think they've got their secret, their winning formula going. Jay Clifford and Mitchell Pearce.
Yeah. I did hear, I think in Jay Clifford's press conference, that a journalist, I can't remember who it was, asked Jay Clifford who's going to take more dominant...
Who's going to be the dominant playmaker?
Half. And Clifford apparently came out and said whoever's most in form at the moment. And at the moment, it's Jay Clifford, because Pearce has been out as his first game back. So at the moment, Clifford's is going to be the dominant half. But if he goes out of form and Pearce comes in, well, then it'll be Pearce. So it's kind of... Don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because it's kind of more work for one half than the other. If they balance it out a bit more, then yes, it might have a better effect, but we just had to wait and see how that goes on.
Arguably.
Like I said, it's only Pearce's first game back, so we have to wait and see how the next round plays out.
And it's also more pressure for the Warriors going on about that top 8 logjam, because Newcastle are now going to try and add their names to it.
After what we thought they were pretty much
practically
gone.
Everyone but the bottom 4 sides, or the bottom 3 sides, I should say, they're going to be fighting for that top 8 logjam.
Pretty much. It's anyone's game. And, add weather, and then anything can go haywire, like we saw on this match. Yeah, but it was a tight tussle, and it was a really great game of footy in the wet.
Yes. Well, from one weather extreme to another, from extreme rain to extreme wind, the St. George Illawarra Dragons somehow escaping the clutches of the Canberra Raiders, 22 points to 20.
And that's what you call a bounce back from getting beaten by the Bulldogs the week before.
But it didn't start that way.
No, the Raiders ran out to a 12-0 lead early on, and only to be leading 14-6 at the break. So, but the Raiders, as the story of their season, just went downhill.
Defense has been a problem. I mean, the Billy Burns try, they shouldn't have conceded that try.
That was
that was just a hard run. A hard run by a big man. That's what you want to see from the big man. Run hard, hit the holes where the halves say. But the kicking, I would not want to be a fullback on that night, and you were facing the southern. Was it the southern end of the ground that was feeling it the most?
Yes, as the wind was coming from the south. So in the first half it was behind the Dragons, second half it was behind the Raiders. But yeah,
you would not want to be in that wind,
and
it showed. It showed that things could have gone haywire for either side at various stages of the game.
Hence why in the opening segment you said Bennett like Beckham for Ben
Well,
Hunt.
I mean, honestly, one of the kicks he put up, I think it was a second half kick,
Yes.
puts it up, and then it just arcs back over
20 metres backwards or something like
There were
that.
70-metre goal line dropouts happening. I mean,
On the fly too.
yeah, on the fly, 70-metre goal line dropouts. Honestly, if they had found touch, it'd be like, holy shit, you just gained a massive advantage because of that wind.
It looked like there was helium in the ball. That's how strong
And
the wind was.
I think the only thing was missing was Hazem El Masri at the upper end of this field.
Yes.
Talk about a 2-point meter field goal. Or 2-point field goal, I should say.
He introduced it years ago. Except he kicked it 100 metres, not from 40. But yeah, no.
If extreme weather events, which I think is highly unlikely, what would you do if you had the opportunity to kick it for a goal line dropout? You ended up sliding it through the sticks from 100 metres out.
Everyone will be in shock and will be lost for words. I think even the team that kicked that field goal will be shocked.
It's all hyperbole, I know, but it's an interesting what-if scenario, considering what we just witnessed on Saturday night.
Well, if it happened, it should have been a 10-point field goal, not a 2-point field goal.
That would really have changed
that
something.
would have been a massive effort, and it would have been awesome to see, but it could happen. We'd have to have stronger winds.
And the efforts, Corey Norman pulled it off. I mean, Ben Hunt had a good game as well, but Corey Norman, 2 40-20s in one match.
You're lucky to get one in the match.
But 2 40-20s at crucial times, and then...
But with the wind, helped.
First of all, you got a debutant Tyrell Sloan that goes in up a good hard run. I think it was from Corey Norman.
Yes.
And then a little bit of ball playing from Jack DeBellin. Am I right on that as well?
Yes.
And then Corey Norman scores a match-winning try. Breaks the Raiders' heart. They're already in trouble with the whole 18th man controversy surrounding Xavier Savage.
Yes.
When he came on when he wasn't supposed to.
Well,
punishment, competition points, fine.
Competition points will be a bit harsh, I believe. Maybe just a fine.
What do you think? 5 digits? Oh, it probably is going to end up.
It's going to be a hefty fine, but I don't know how much.
30, 35 at the most?
Yeah, I wouldn't go beyond that. 40 would be a bit too harsh, so yeah, maybe 30.
Most of them are $10,000 suspended anyway for some of these players that get in trouble with the integrity unit. So,
but it wasn't the player's fault. It was more like it could even
be
be
the club. I would probably say half the club, half the interchange officials down on the sideline.
Yeah, so they might split it, but it's more the club than anything. So they won't lose competition points. That wasn't the player's fault. But yeah, Tyrell Sloan getting a try on debut. That was good to see. You always love to see a player score on their debut.
Yeah, pity was about Xavier Savage, but I think he'd be happy he at least got a debut that he wasn't supposed to have.
Well, yeah, practically.
But he would have enjoyed those 12 minutes either way.
Oh, yeah. If you play a full 80-minute game, a 20-minute game, or however long you play on your debut, it's worth it. I don't know how Ben Travojevic might have something different to say about that. Considering
if he can even remember it.
Well, yes. But other than that, it's a good win and good to see Dragons back on the board. And back in the top 8.
Yeah. Someone's whose ambitions are very much far from the top 8. Oh, the West Tigers.
Well.
Going down to Melbourne, 66 points to 16. And all I can say is, Mamma mia, that is a lot of a tries.
Yes, 12 tries for that match.
It was 40-0 at half-time. Honestly, there'd be someone out there, whether it's Sledge Memes, Rugby League Sledge Memes page, whether it be, I don't know, someone else, but there'd be someone out there with the meme, with the Simpsons template, just like, stop it, he's already dead. That was the West Tigers. Stop the match, they're gone. They just didn't even get started.
No. If Nico Hines got 3 conversions, it would have been 72 to 16.
But that's just crazy.
That's unheard of.
That is just
It's unheard
it is
of.
crazy.
When's the last time you saw a team
But I
Get
mean,
over 60.
or fold that badly in defence. I mean, I know the Dogs are like running second last, but come on, at least we don't fold up in defence like that. We don't concede 40-0 at half time like that.
The first 3 single touches the Tigers had, they
all led
stuffed
to
up.
Melbourne tries. They all ended the same way. Melbourne tries.
Melbourne would be ecstatic with that performance, but they would.
I don't think Bellyache will, because he conceded 3 tries out of it. He scored 12, but he conceded 3. He would have actually been, and he probably thinks, "Hang on, boys, we can't really let loose here, because." You know,
Well,
what if we end up as showboaters that we could just pile on tries in the manner that we have?
yeah. Well, Tigers' one try did come when a soft similar was in the bin.
Which, of course, momentum swings.
Yes, and then the other 2 were just from, you could
But
say,
Brandon Smith, Nico Hines, Cameron Munster, Del Finucane, Big Nelson, Remus Smith, Felice Kafusi, Jerome Hughes, Tom Eisenhoof, and Harry Grant. What do you have there? Isn't that 9 or 10 individual try scorers on their own?
pretty much.
I mean, it's just,
The only player with a double was Jerome Hughes and
Remus Smith. But it's just like, it's that over meme as well. It's like, you get a try, you get a try, you get a try. Everyone gets a try except for the 7 players that did, or for the 8 players that didn't score.
I was going to say, it's practically the whole team got a try. That was... When was the last time you saw a team get 60 plus points?
The Rabbitohs, 2020.
True. But still, it's
But
a very
there's-
rare occasion.
I feel sorry for Michael Maguire.
So do
I honestly do, because not only was his left edge defensively exposed, the whole defensive line just broke away. It was just like an iceberg that just got a 1,000-degree blowtorch put to it, and it melted like butter.
Yeah.
It was non-existent. I have to really accentuate that.
When the Tigers had their 4th touch of the game,
They actually held on to it for some time.
I thought they're going to stuff. I thought surely they're not going to stuff up a 4th time, but no, they held on to it. And after them first 3 single touch errors, once they had the first full set, they kind of kept the ball from then on.
But it was just too
when
little,
they had the
too late.
chances to have it,
It was just too late.
it would have been better. Nothing against Tigers, but having a 66-0 scoreline. Everyone would. It was, yeah. Even the score on 66-16 was just laughable.
Honestly, I feel sorry for Michael Maguire, because what can he do?
His reputation's on the line.
I mean, the only thing he could do was get him in at half time, and it's just like, you know what? You blokes dug yourselves into this mess at 40-0. Dig yourselves out of it. Come on, bloke. Oh, man. Let's leave these boys to it. And
That's not what a coach should do.
well, what can he do? I would defend Michael Maguire on that. Just like, you know what? We went through this at training. I put this into your head for 5 days of the week, and you dish up this first 40 minutes. Sort yourselves out for the next 40.
I'm surprised he didn't go home.
I would have.
Yeah.
I would be embarrassed.
And then we've had a captain coach. That would have been James
Tarmer.
Yeah.
But, and then to concede another 26 after that, it's just like, I would have just gone in. I wouldn't have gone in. I wouldn't even speak to them. I would have just been on the team bus. I would have been just like, and dress them down when we got back to base.
Well, you know what I would have done? If it was 40-0 at halftime, I would have forfeited the match. Because there's no way we're going to come back from 40 points down. Like, come on. Who's come back from 40 points down?
No one.
Exactly.
That was just an unmitigated disaster.
Pretty much. When Melbourne scored on the 2nd minute, it was going to be downhill from there. 2nd minute, and then the 4th minute. They were just putting tries in for fun. It was like a training session. That's what it ended up being. A training session for the Storm.
It was more like a gallop. It wasn't even a training session. It was just
Probably
under eights.
Easiest victories.
Under
in their
eights. That's what it
whole
was. The Tigers were defending like under eights against like, well, NRL giants.
Yeah. No, it was a match that was probably the easiest match that any Storm player will ever play in that game.
Definitely was. Now, wet and wild conditions continue from Bankwest Stadium as the Eels, they put in a very strong second half performance to overcome. He's having a serve at me already. I can see it in his. I can see it in his eyes. I can see it through his bloody teeth. He's happy that from the ecstasy of being 10-6 up, the Bulldogs being 10-6 up against the Eels, it was like, we got a bloody chance here. We can roll a top four contender. And then within the space of 7 minutes of the second half, it went horribly wrong. And then 5 tries later, you're left wondering, yeah, that this is usually how the script plays out. But hey, look, all credit to the Eels that they rallied back, because if this was an Eels of 2020, they would have folded up. In the late stages, they would have folded up in a game like this.
True.
But this Eels side, I think, is actually more resilient than last year. And it could have gone either way, but my God, what the hell went wrong in the lead up to the penalty try?
Yeah, I don't know. I have to say, I give credit for the Dogs. It was a surprise lead at halftime. But even if the Eels are down at halftime, they always tend to go well in the second half.
And the statistics they said showed it. I mean, they've only conceded, what was it, 94 second half points, and they scored close to 220?
Yeah, something like that. But it's called payback from last week. I knew as soon as...
Yeah, and there's your objectivity going out the window, so you can have a dig at me.
I knew as soon as I saw the Bulldogs playing Eels this week, that's it, Dogs ain't going to be winning this one. It'll be payback from last week.
I was still riding high on confidence, and the first 40 minutes, I was justified.
And then I went downhill.
By our own hands. Just...
Yes. No momentum carried over from the last game whatsoever. Well, it did for the first half, but the second half, it didn't carry on.
Yeah, we had Gutherson in trouble under the high ball.
Yes, which is a bit of a surprise considering how good Gutherson is. So, Sean Russell on debut got a double in quick succession
off the back of his captain. So not only did this captain, who gave him his debut, who told him he was going to debut on Sunday, also set him up as well. So that's just a bonus reward.
Yes, but that penalty try, yes, no.
Oh. Well, they did say that there was no other Eels in the area, so...
That was true.
And it is based on the referee's overall subject opinion, and if he believes that Mitchell Moses could get past the fence, then he would...
Which he kind of already was anyway.
It would have been the case that he would have scored if not impeded.
Yeah. Look, it was pretty... I feel it was fair. It's still not an 8-point try, which we don't see much anymore. I still can't get my head around that rule, but a penalty try back in the day used to be a conversion from where the try was scored and then the penalty in front. But,
no, that's 8-point try. Don't
yeah,
get
that's
the
8-point try. Yeah.
Look,
I say that often much. I still can't get my head around.
The 3 tries that killed us in the second half, of course, it was Sean Lane with that long range break with the silky hands.
How the... You don't see a forward run that long. But he managed.
Well, Campbell Gillard ran 50 metres last year to score a try, so it's not that different.
It's starting to become a more of a recurring theme. Just like Brandon Smith, who's got a, so-called letter from the
Forwards Union.
The Forwards Union to say stop scoring tries.
He's not going to stop scoring tries.
No.
It just wouldn't be in his character.
No. But that's what you get from playing dummy half too. You can have that speed to playing forwards to help score points.
And of course, the Sean Russell double also finished it off as well.
Yes, so... And the Dogs... completion rate compared to last week, it's still up there. It was 73% against Parramatta compared
but
to
considering we were completing at 95%
the week prior.
It was a letdown.
It was, but it's still above 50.
It's still, I think, we're still ready to go on that little run that we usually went on, apart from last year, where we get more wins in the back half of the season and look half decent, trying to build on to the next year, and then get disappointed the following year.
With the players you've got coming next year. You've got the Fox, Burton, as we already mentioned.
Brent Naden.
Back in episode number 1, I believe, when we previewed the Dogs season.
I mean, there's still optimism around us, but yeah. But at least we actually have heart to try and go for 80 minutes.
Yes.
Unlike the Gold Coast Titans, who, surprise, surprise, get out to a nice, comfortable lead, and then Manly finish up 56-24.
48 points unanswered. Manly were down 24-8 at half.
It was unbelievable. The Titans started well, but then it went horribly wrong. And Tom Trbojevic, just these numbers,
fashion.
3 tries, 3 try assists, 174 running meters and 6 tackle breaks. So he's had his hand in half the tries Manly scored, either directly or in the lead-up.
We had Ruben Garrick score 4 tries for Ruben Garrick.
That's mental. Just the way Manly, 4 tries to 2, they're trailing at the break, and then it turns around in the second half, and it's like they run in close to 7 tries unopposed.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. They could have been easily up to 68 if Garrick got the goals he missed.
They didn't make it easy for him. Most of the tries were scored out wide.
Yeah, true. But they could have even gone further than what Melbourne did by 2 points. But, hey, 56-24, I wouldn't be complaining about that.
I wouldn't be, and this only helps Manly's for and against, knowing what the top 5 for and against is like.
Yeah, they're well within a chance.
If I'm Justin Holbrook, I'm ropeable. I'm ropeable that they fell apart in defence and the attack went with it.
Holbrook will be scratching his head and thinking, where did we go wrong? That's what I'll be thinking.
I mean, there'll be all the finger pointing. Was it David Fafita not just being a one-trick pony? Was it at the fact that they fell for Tom Trbojevic, just the aura and the menace that he provides?
Well, put it this way, all but 2 tries were from the back line of like Trbojevic, Garrick, Saab, Parker,
and apparently he's getting a contract extension alongside Ruben Garrick.
Yeah. So the other 2 that weren't in the back line was like Ola Kawatu and Cherry Evans. But still, it was a massive performance. And like Trbojevic,
that was a second half flop from the Titans.
Trbojevic is a freak. He's an absolute freak.
All right, I'll put the question to you. By the time he retires, will he become Manly's greatest ever?
I believe so.
I mean, it's a big question considering you got Bob Fulton ahead of him. Rugby League immortal, laid to rest in peace.
Yes.
I mean, then you got your Graham Eades, you got your Steve Menzies, you got your Cliff Lyons.
Some very, very big names he's going to be amongst.
And the Stewart brothers as well.
Yes. He's going to be in one of the elite Manly players that have ever played for the Sea Eagles.
And, I mean, his exploits for New South Wales will also be remembered. I mean,
for
the moment, it's a relatively short career, but I mean, considering you go, what was it? Try in Origin 1, try in Origin 2, hat-trick in Game 2 of 2019, another try in Game 3 of 2019, doesn't play the entire 2020 series, then his first game back, he bags another hat-trick.
He's just an absolute freak. That's the only word you can sum up, is a freak.
But he's good to watch.
He plays more in the attacking line and defensive line than what he does at fullback. He just roams around the park here, there, everywhere, and pops up here, there, everywhere, and as you know, has a massive play.
Uses those bloody giraffe arms to try and get up over the top of everyone.
Mate, imagine when you have Ben Trbojevic playing 80 minutes in the back line with him.
If he ever makes it.
Well, if he does, yes, but I'm just going to quickly go off topic. If Ben Trbojevic plays 80 minutes alongside Tom and Jake, they could be...
He will definitely justify the name Trbojevic. Just the pedigree of that
but also
family.
it could be like the group of brothers like Glenn and Brett Stewart be one of the...
Or the Burgess brothers.
I'm just talking about Manly specifically, with their brothers being like the best in the thing. But yeah, so even the Morris brothers, somewhere they've gone here, there, everywhere. Pretty much gone to each club that they've gone to, except that Brett didn't go to the Sharks and Josh did. But other than that, they've played at every club together.
Yes, that is something special down at Manly. A very unique talent that I don't think we'll ever see again.
Not for a very long time, I believe.
Now, Moving Clubland aside, we have got the do or die clash up in Suncorp Stadium. Queensland versus New South Wales for Ampol's State of Origin Game 2. A couple of enforced, well, I think only one enforced change for the Blues, and that is the loss of Jake Trebojevic to a hip injury at training. So Junior Paulo gets promoted to the starting side with Angus Crichton added to the bench, and with Dale Finucane a possibility to be called up at any late stage for Brad Fittler's side.
As for you're gonna do it to me again, give me the north of the border team.
Hey, I gotta do it when it gets to game 3. You know that.
I know.
Whether it's a series decider or a dead rubber. You know
Yeah.
I gotta call those people.
Yes. Reece Walsh is the new fullback. So there's only 7 NRL games he's played, and he's making his Origin debut. The second youngest behind the Ben Ikin, who only played 4 before he made his debut back in the day. You got Felt and Holmes on the wings, Capewell and Gagai in the centres, Munster and Cherios as the halves, Fasu and Morales at lock, with Jai, Arrow and Felice Confusi in the second row. Christian Walsh is up front alongside new name to the squad, Andrew McCulloch, who's playing hooker, and Josh Papali returns to the Origin scene. On the bench, Ben Hunt comes back into the side to play the utility role. Fodawaker, Fafita and Molo, who's also been added into the team for game number 2, with Cohen Hess and Ronaldo Mulatalo, who's also been a new name in the squad, is 18th and 19th man respectively. So a lot more changes to Queensland than what there is for the Blues.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you look at that blue side, there was only one change made through injury.
Which was forced.
Oh, definitely forced. But if I'm on the QRL at the moment, whose brain dead idea was it to pick Reece Walsh at fullback?
Well, I got no
I mean,
power.
hey, I know you got to pick on. You do have to pick a bit on form as well as pick on loyalty. But are you really going to throw an 18-year-old man who has only played, as you said, 7 NRL games to this point, and you're going to throw him in to a Queensland side that came off a hiding to nothing in game 1 for a do or die clash with the Blues running wild?
Well, who else could you put in? Brimson's out, Ponner's out.
Valentine Holmes.
Yeah, but then who's going to replace Holmes?
Well, you go with Xavier Coates.
But he's been dropped.
Why has he been dropped? Well, no one knows, but I think everyone would have been surprised that he has been dropped.
Well, considering the try-saving tackle he did for Dane Gagai in Clubland, you think that would have helped his force, but no. But another blow for, well, another couple of blows for the team up north. Grant's out, Sewer's out, Offen and Gowie out, and Coates is out, as long with Brimson.
I wouldn't have dropped Xavier Coates.
No. Grant's out because of injury. Brimson's out because of injury.
Sewer and Offer and Gowie, I would remember due to form reasons.
Yes, and then Coates was stumbled. Absolutely stumbled.
But if you've got Valentine Holmes there, why wouldn't you put him at fullback? Or even, you got Ronaldo Mulatalo there, why wouldn't you stick him under the wing and then have Holmes at fullback? Why Reece Walsh? Why try and flow him to the Lions this early on in his career?
I don't know. They're asking for another absolute belting by the Blues. Yes, it's at Suncorp. Yes, it's the second Queensland game back-to-back, which is controversial.
What they lose is with Harry Grant gone, they lose speed around the ruck.
Yes.
I mean, we all know Andrew McCulloch's no spring chicken, but he'll bring game management. That's the trade-off.
Game management, and he's got a good kicking game, McCulloch.
And Ben Hunt off the bench as well. So you lose speed, but you gain game management. And especially if Queensland are in control, if they can bounce back.
Highly unlikely. I did read that this Queensland side is more dangerous than game 1.
Well, adding Josh Papali'i in, it's bound to be more dangerous.
That's
because
one player.
Because now the forward pack is evened up. The back line, it's still in New South Wales' favour.
Exactly. Because Tedesco, Mitchell, Tavorovich, Adokar, they've still been...
And don't forget Luai and Cleary in the halves.
Yes. They've been still playing really good football, like fantastic football since game 1 in Clubland. So, with the Blues have got it in the back line hands down. No arguments there. Sorry, Queenslanders. But the back line for the Maroons, Brendan Reece Walsh is a big, big gamble.
What I also find interesting is they've swapped David Fafita and Jai Arrow around after Fafita had another little... Well, I wouldn't say incident, but I would actually say they've decided to actually impose, I think, what was it, $20,000 fine for that incident up on the Gold Coast late last year?
I think so.
So I'm going to be interested to see how David Fafita responds, because I think there was also criticism of him after the Manly defeat about him not being a one-trick pony, because I think we all know what he is. It's just try and bring a bit of variety to the game. Just don't pull off the same trick you do best over and over again.
Because everyone's going to get used to that.
You'll get worked out defensively, and then so much being this big boom forward that signed a $3 million deal with the Gold Coast.
Yeah. It could pay off for Paul Green, but I'd say the risk he's really taking, which is nothing against Reece Walsh or nothing against Paul Green, but you could tell bringing Reece Walsh in is a rookie coach error. I know Paul Green's won a premiership, and he's been around forever, for a while now, but he's new to the Origin scene, but that's a coaching error. A rookie coach error.
It's not just a coaching error, it's a selection error. It's a board blunder. The QRL are so desperate to try and turn things around, they are willing to throw an 18-year-old rookie against this blue side that has been together for some time and are full of confidence.
With what Connor said to me off air, Jack Whiten could be a late scratching due to his partner
possibly giving birth to his third child.
Third child.
Third child. He's already got 2 kids.
There you go. So that could mean either Coruscant, Campbell, Graham, or Dale Finucane will come onto the bench. Now, who do you believe will come onto the bench if Whiten is withdrawn?
If club football is an indication to go by, especially in the last 2 years with the rate of concussion, the crackdown, and the 6 again, if you lose an outside back, because forwards you can rotate, outside backs is a different story, and it was demonstrated again on the weekend, if you lose a winger or you lose an outside back. I'm just going to say winger in general because that was in the Eels-Bulldogs clash. You lose a winger, you're in trouble. You lose a centre or a fullback, and this was especially true in Origin 3, you're done.
Yes.
On last year.
Yes.
The moment we lost Tedesco, it was all over.
That was over and done with, yeah. So, out of those 3, who do you think will replace Whiten if he's a late withdrawal?
Finucane would probably be the least likely, even though he's not a bad player in the Origin arena, with his limited opportunities that he has had, and he's very, very strong ball runner. But that would be 4 forwards on the bench.
Yes. And like you said, if someone in the back line goes down, then you're practically screwed.
Ultimately, if I was Freddie Fittler, or if you were Andrew Johns or Brandy Alexander, you would...
Or Badiris.
Or Badiris, who is in Freddie's makeup. But this is what you'd be looking at. You'd be looking at Queensland bench. You got speed and a game manager in Ben Hunt, as well as 3 forwards. Do you really want... This is what you'd be looking at. You don't... I want to go with Dale Finucane unless you absolutely have to if you want to back Crichton or Martin's versatility.
Yeah.
So if you want to go with speed, you would go with Api Coruscant because he would probably be the second best hooker in New South Wales behind Damien Cook, or even the best, depending on which stage you want to talk about Cook at. If you want to go with covering the outside backs, and that's probably the best thing you want to have an insurance policy for, you would go with Campbell Graham.
So that's kind of...
It's either Coruscant or Campbell Graham.
There's pros and cons of each option.
Oh, yeah, there definitely is.
Because if a backline player goes down and you have Finucane on the bench, well, then you're going to have to move Yo or more likely Yo to the backline. Like, say, for example, if Mitchell goes down. I'm not saying he might, or will.
This is
It's an
strictly
example.
hypothetical.
If Mitchell goes down and you got no backline players on the bench, you're gonna have to move Yo to the centres.
You
And-
would, or you would move Angus Crichton to the centres.
Yes, and then you have to bring, say, Finucane onto their Crichton's or Yo's place. So that's the pros and cons for that. Campbell Graham, he's in the back line. He knows he can play centre wing. We know
Comfortably.
that, so
I would definitely
comfortably.
think wing is much stronger than centre.
Coruscant, I believe he can only play hooker.
I think he actually played. I'm not sure, but he might have actually played in the halves for Fiji at some point.
So that
And I think Jerome Luai would probably, if there was an injury at dummy half, that'd probably be another other option. Stick Luai in the halves and then, a dummy half and then
Coruscant in the halves.
that'd be one way of doing it.
I said off air, I'll pick Coruscant, but if you go in the back line, down I know you got Mitchell and Travojevic, if Tedesco goes down, that can go straight there easy. Campbell Graham. If Whiten's out, it will be Campbell Graham. I believe.
I'm split between Coruscant and Campbell Graham. I think either one of those two would do a fantastic job.
Yeah.
If Jack Whiten does withdraw from the camp.
But we're saying Finucane's not a bad player. We're not saying that, but that's just our thoughts.
All right, final thoughts. If it's a win, it's a dead rubber in game 3. If not, it's a series decider. Which would you rather prefer? Go.
A series decider in Sydney would be fantastic. But then you've got the risk of losing it at the very last hurdle. Winning it in Queensland will just rub salt into the wounds of how shit Queensland have gone all series. And we can go into Sydney with you could say with pressure off with the players' shoulders of not trying to get the shield, but then they'll try and go 3 in a row will be the target if they win in Brisbane. Just to piss every Queenslander off that listens to this podcast, I'm going to say the Blues win by 13 plus, and the Blues will wrap it up at Suncorp Stadium.
All right.
Just to piss off Queenslanders.
Well, they deserve it.
Yeah.
Think of how many times we've been up in game 1 only to be disappointed at certain stages.
Yes. Multiple times.
Or losing game 1 and then to be disappointed that we can't force a series decider.
Yes. But being a true Blue, I'm going to be completely biased.
Well, I think it was the wrong decision by the QRL, but Reece Walsh could also, at the same time, we also have to factor in that Reece Walsh could prove to be an absolute masterstroke.
That is very, very true.
Because what you do get, even though he's relative inexperience, you got speed, big time, passing game as well, and he can also provide an extra kicking game. So it's another option that you don't get in the Blues backline.
I'm going to butt in. I'd say the Blues will be targeting Walsh. Every chance they get.
It'd be Turbo against Walsh. Turbo, Tom, and Reece Lightning that'd be in the battle. And I would definitely think Tom Trbojevic will get up over the top of him.
Well, Trbojevic has had experience. He's got the length on him and the height and all that, so... Yeah.
My other concern is the forward battle, because Papali'i is the big dog of the Queensland forward pack.
True.
And if you bring the big dog into any pack, the knock-on effect is he's going to inspire everyone in that pack.
Possibly.
And Francis Molo, he'll have a point to prove after being given the faith of Paul Green to come in to the side as well. Ben Hunt, versatile utility. Halves a dummy half, wherever you ask him to play, he'll be there.
True.
And he's got speed to burn.
True, and the rate he's been playing at club lane, he's going pretty well as well. Pretty good as well, I should say.
We should be expecting that the Blues are going to come into Suncorp Stadium a lot in a better position than we have been in recent years. But we've got to remember, this is the heart of Queensland Rugby League. A graveyard. So we have got to prove, because under Freddie Fittler, we have not won, and probably even before that, we have not won a game at Suncorp Stadium. Period. I think in the last 5 years, we have not won a game at Suncorp Stadium whatsoever.
This is our best chance of ending that drought.
It is. I think this is...
Best chance.
We have to take the opportunity now. This is it. But I think Queensland, they're down, they're in front of their home crowd, and it's going to be a big weight of expectations. They'll have Billy Moore probably in there, shouting Queenslander at the top of his lungs.
But then we'll be out on field yelling cattle dog.
We'll be asking for cattle dog.
Yes.
Look, we also have to... I think we will see a very, very different Queensland side to the one that got served big time in game one. Because they're not going to get embarrassed. They don't want to be embarrassed. The last thing they want is to be embarrassed on proper home soil.
True. And they've done it to us before.
And they don't want to concede back-to-back losses in Queensland for the first time in Origin history.
Well, when have you ever seen back-to-back Queensland games in Origin history before?
1982. Not that I've watched it, but
that's ages ago, though, so...
They said it still applies.
True.
So you'd have to try and match it in the middle to try and keep Papali'i out of the game and then target Reece Walsh under the high ball. I think this is what Nathan Cleary and Tom Trbojevic will have in store for him.
Yeah. So the Blues will be trying to shut down Reece Walsh and Papali'i for sure.
If they can contain the middle and bomb at the back, I think New South Wales will wrap up the series, but it won't be a big scoreline. I think this will be a dogfight, and this will turn into a 1-12 win.
No, I still don't think that. I already said mine. Blues to win 13 plus. To be precise, like I had done literally all season, it's not going to be a massive blowout 50, whatever it was. 50, Again. It's going to be 30. Blues to win by 30. It's still going to be big, but not as big as game one.
More conventional.
Yeah. Blues win by 30.
Well, there you go. That is all the NRL and State of Origin action sorted, but don't go away. Coming up, Warrington slaying the Saints to be within a sniff at the top three. The Salford Red Devils trying to climb further away from the relegation zone. And England's World Cup preparation. What do they have in stock? Tune in after this break.